grow up with the NES, PlayStation, Star Wars, cartoons, and 80s TV? Do you like to think who would win in a fight between Batman and the Master Chief? Comics, games, movies, music, and TV, they're gonna tell you everything you need. Superheroes or not, they got your back. They're gonna save the world of geeks. Games, movies, music, and TV, they're gonna tell you everything you need. Superheroes or not, they got your back. They're gonna save the world of This Week in Geek. This Week in Geek.
Well, hello. Alex here with a very brief introduction to a surprise review episode. Weren't sure if we were going to do one again before our, hiatus. But when talking to Birdman, he said, hey, Alex, I got about 4, 5, maybe even 6 reviews ready to go that I want to get out before the holiday gift guide, if at all possible, because I might reference them in the gift guide. And I went, oh, well, let me figure out what we've got schedule-wise. And at the same time, Ken said, hey, I've got one ready for you. I went, okay. And I had just received an item for review last minute that I really wanted to feature. And went, yes, let's put together a very quick show. So there's not going to be a whole lot of hullabaloo here. Just know that there's going to be a few from Birdman. I'll throw probably mine in the center. A few from Birdman again, and then I guess Ken's maybe near the end, maybe at the beginning. I'm not entirely sure where I'll place everything necessarily. Just know that it's going to be a quick and dirty short review show here, just because it's stuff we couldn't fit on the one earlier this week, and we do want to get everything in before our holiday gift guide comes out on Saturday or Sunday, because as of this recording, we're only a few hours away from the Game Awards, which we will be covering, watching live, doing a watch party, as well as recording and releasing the podcast prototype for that, along with what our picks would have been and some final thoughts on the games throughout the year tomorrow, which will be Friday. Then Saturday, I meet up with Birdman to go do our little Christmas party. Very, very brief one, because we're not going to get a chance to hang out at Christmas, and record our holiday gift guide. And then Sunday, I'm going to go see The Boy and the Heron at the movie theater. And then we're technically on hiatus, except for the fact that we'll be releasing the gift guide either Sunday or Monday. And probably have to have a review or two or something come out later, because we just received the Avatar Pandora game, and we received a few codes, so we'll be checking it out independently, and then probably gathering together for a mini prototype at some point. And that'll be the last official show that isn't something that we pre-record or have ready to go during the holidays. But yeah, it's a pretty cramped, pretty compressed, busy next 3 or 4 days. So without further ado, here are some reviews. Hopefully there's some stuff here that you'll find interesting, and maybe you can get either as a stocking stuffer or as a more big ticket item.
Basically using geeks.
Leave me alone, geek boy.
Holy shit, you geeks are badass.
Hey, Barbie. Can I come to your house tonight?
Sure. I don't have anything big planned, just a giant blowout party with all the Barbies and planned choreography and a bespoke song. You should stop by.
So cool.
You can find me under the lights, diamonds under my eyes.
This is the best day ever.
It is the best day ever. So is yesterday, and so is tomorrow, and every day from now until forever. Do you guys ever think about dying?
Hey guys, this is Mike the Birdman here. I'm here to talk about something really cool we got from our friends over at Warner Brothers Home Entertainment. I'm talking about Barbie on 4K Ultra HD. This also comes with a digital code. So Barbie, let's be honest, this movie took the world by surprise and by storm this past summer, most often paired with Oppenheimer, which led to the phenomenon known as Barbenheimer. And well, 2023 is weird. And I gotta say, Barbie is one of those movies that I wasn't so sure if I liked it the first time round. It was a little overwhelming, but the more that I've watched it on subsequent viewings, the more my feelings about it have really changed. I'm really in love with the cast of this movie. One of the things I gotta say, this movie does so well. It's the costume design, it's the set design, it's so bright, it's so vibrant, it's a really funny satire at times, it really makes you think. Honestly, Barbie is a bit of a gem of a movie, and probably one that's going to be talked about for a very, very long time. And it just came out at just the right time when I think the world kind of needed this. I may be overselling it a touch, but I really had a fantastic time with the Barbie movie as a whole. And the fact that you're getting it in 4K, it's really going to pop if you have the right kind of television that can display this in all of its bright vibrancy colors. I think if I remember right, I remember reading this somewhere, and I think we talked about this on the main show. This movie used up so much pink paint, there was a shortage in the world at one point for this. So that should tell you just how, well, unbelievably bright this movie is. Other than that, though, it's a fantastic film, definitely worth watching, and definitely worth owning in your collection. To speak about the special features on the disc, they're actually quite numerous, and when Warner Brothers really wants to take a movie out and really strut its proverbial stuff, they do a lot of special features, and you do get a lot here, although no deleted scenes, which is kind of cool. It's just everything that was meant to be on the screen made it there, though it wouldn't surprise me if at some point down the road we get a different edition of Barbie released with maybe more special features, maybe a longer behind-the-scenes documentary, and maybe, I'm actually really surprised there wasn't a Barbie limited edition figure released with this as some kind of like a collector's box set, maybe keep it to like a super limited edition or something. Maybe that's an idea for Warner Brothers, because I know you're listening. But yeah, seriously, Barbie on 4K Ultra HD was a real surprise, and honestly, I think this is going to be a gift for anybody who's in your family who's ever enjoyed Barbie, or anybody who really just kind of wants a movie that's a little bit different. And the gag gift is right there. If you bought this and Oppenheimer, you could literally give someone the gift of Barbenheimer this holiday season. So honestly, Warner Brothers Home Entertainment delivered an absolute knockout punch with this, and it's Ken enough. So I thoroughly enjoyed this. So Barbie, back to you.
What do I have to do?
You have to go to the real world. You can go back to your regular life, or you can know the truth about the universe. The choice is now yours.
The first one, the high heel.
You have to want to know, okay? Do it again.
Closer I am fine.
Hey guys, Ken Rose here, and welcome to my review for Gangs of Sherwood. Thank you to the folks over at Appeal Studios and Nacon for sending me a code for the Xbox Series X. And what this game is a Devil May Cry meets Left 4 Dead game set in the Legend of Robin Hood. So it's third person, and the whole plot is the Sheriff of Nottingham has taken over the kingdom, and you need to attempt to take him down the only way you know how. It's multiplayer. You can play up to 1 to 4 players, and you play one of the 4 characters in the game. So you have Friar Tuck, who is your heavy and healer. You've Maid Marian, who is a nimble assassin type. You get in, you deal damage, and you get out. And then there's Lil Jon, which is basically your big punchy melee dude. And Robin Hood is basically your ranger, but if someone gets close to him, you can bash people with your bow. And combat, basically, as you would think with Devil May Cry, relies on juggles and crowd control management. And enemies will try to pick you off, from multiple directions, so you have to be very careful when organizing your mobs and whatnot. You're graded by your variety of combat moves, which you unlock more through each character's unique skill tree system, and there's also a parry counterattack system. Then there's the artifacts, which are buffs and bonuses that you acquire throughout your playing of each individual level, and those vary in effects. You can get healing damage from attacking foes, you can get causing elemental damage to foes when you're, and build that up as you're attacking them. And then there's also shards, which are your special moves unique to each individual character, and those are unlocked to alter your kit from different moves to further modify your character's playstyle. You can play online or offline at the launch of the game, though I would probably recommend this as a play with friends kind of game. Single player combat felt a bit too easy on normal difficulty ratings early on, and probably will cause people to drop the game. You fight through 6 unique chapters with multiple missions within each of those chapters. There's also the Tyrant's Pit, which is basically a challenge tower gauntlet section. And overall, the gameplay, it's actually kind of fun. Like, I had a good time playing this game. Initially, I had some issues with texture pop-in and frame stutter when loading in cutscenes and whatnot, and also during gameplay. However, during when the day 1 patch went out, it completely removed those from existence, which is good. Overall, for it, the VO work in this is actually kind of one of the big highlights of the game. There's witty banter between the characters, as well as the side characters you meet along the way, that are fun to hear mix and match with each other wittingly. And there's also music that is also fitting and enjoyable through what I actually played of the game, which is a good chunk of the game. It's about 5-6 hours of the game, just to get a feel of it for this review, because again, it's the end of the year. I wanted to present you as best a presentation as possible. But again, it's a budget title. This will run you about $40 US, and as a single player game, it's going to be very dependent on the kind of player you are. I was willing to forgive some of the simpleness of the encounters as I progressed through the game, but that is, again, buyer beware. There are some things that aren't necessarily going to gel with everyone. If you have a group of friends that are looking for a game to play, honestly, this isn't a bad one to play. It is also available on all platforms, so that includes Series, PC, which includes Epic and Steam, as well as the Series X and S. I don't know the performance on the Series S, but it ran perfectly fine on my Series X, and I don't think it is graphically intensive enough that the Series S isn't going to be able to handle it. Overall, I would genuinely recommend Gangs of Sherwood. Initially, I was a little hesitant because the early build that I was given for review was a little janky, and all that got solved in the day 1 patch. So I'm super happy with this game and actually do recommend it, especially during the holiday season if you have a bunch of friends that just want to hang out and enjoy the holidays. Also, thank you to Appeal Studios and Nacon for sending me a code.
are the sum of our choices. And we cannot escape the past. Ethan, this mission of yours is gonna cost you dearly.
Good morning. This is IMF agent Mike the Birdman, and I'm here to tell you about something really cool we got from our friends over at Paramount Home Entertainment. I'm talking about the 4K Ultra HD plus digital code version of Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. What more can I say about the Mission Impossible franchise? It is iconic. I have been in love with this franchise for a number of years. I remember seeing the first one in theaters multiple times. I know I reviewed that huge box set earlier this year, and this is one of the few times I went to the movies this year and was utterly captivated by the further adventures of IMF agent Ethan Hunt, where more or less now he fights Skynet, this rogue AI. I don't want to give too much more about the movie away, but it's fantastic. There's some amazing stunt work in it, which this series is definitely known for. Captain America's in it, but Haley Atwell, so not Chris Evans. So it's pretty awesome, I've got to say. Plus, you get the rest of the IMF crew, Simon Pegg and Luther, and just all the people you've come to expect from this franchise, plus some fantastic bad guys, some really, really awesome fight scenes. And this is more of a globe-trotting adventure, so the movie definitely looks astonishing in 4K, sounds really, 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 really great. I mean, there's nothing really to complain about here. So this comes across 2 discs. The 4K one has the feature film, but it also has a couple of commentaries on there, like an isolated score soundtrack, stuff you've come to expect, but no real complaints to say about the visuals here. The second disc is a Blu-ray, which has all the special features, and this is where I feel like there maybe could have been a little bit more effort done. There's a lot of special features, but they're not very long. The longest one is about 10 minutes or so, and it basically talks about the stunt work. And I really feel like once the Mission Impossible series concludes within like the next year or two, you could really do an amazing documentary, probably feature length. Like, I'm probably talking like, I don't know, maybe as long as the In Search of Darkness stuff, when you really break it down, to talk about the behind the scenes for each Mission Impossible movie, talk to any cast members, directors, obviously the actors, stunt coordinators, directors of photography, sound editors. You get the idea. But yeah, they talk about some of the different places like Abu Dhabi, Rome, Venice, what went into some of the stunt work. Like, they talk about the train, how they actually built that practically. They talk about the huge motorcycle jump he did off in Norway. This thing where he does like this speed diving thing, where it's like basically driving a parachute, so it's like a speeder bike from Star Wars. It's ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, it's really cool, but I wanted more. But again, Tom Cruise really sets the bar when it comes to doing ridiculous action and really inventing new camera technologies and stuff, so the art of movie making and cinema really goes up a notch. I mean, you look at Top Gun Maverick and what he did for, how you filmed aerial dogfight scenes. When you look at how he did some of the things for the motorcycle jump and for the train, they had to invent new types of cameras for that, stuff that wasn't around a couple of years ago, and this was a movie that was even stopped by the pandemic. So again, fantastic work. I just really hope there's a larger edition of Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. I would imagine maybe when Part 2 comes out and we get the huge Mission Impossible box set that will inevitably come out in a couple of years, we get more extensive special features. But I can recommend this because the film itself is utterly fantastic. And again, you're getting a lot of info here. You just want a little bit more. So your mission, do you choose to accept it? Do you wait for a better 4K version of this to come out? Or do you simply grab the exploding cassette tape and just deal with it now? I don't think either way you're going to go wrong. So I highly recommend Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 from our friends over at Paramount Home Entertainment.
Listen to me. The world's coming after you.
His fate is written. Shall we write yours too?
If anything happens to them, there's no place that I won't go to kill you. That is written.
This is a fair request, and I promise I will not judge any person only as a teenager, and that this is no more right than saying all teenagers are drunken dope addicts or glue sniffers.
Alex here with a quick impression review of the Tineco Floor 1 S5 Extreme. Now, what is that? That is a pretty high-end wet/dry vacuum. What does that mean? That is a vacuum that can both be used to clean up as a traditional vacuum would on any dry surface. It means that it also has the ability to mop floors using a cleaning solution, and then at the same time pull up any of the debris that you pick up off the ground there. So essentially making it a multi-use vacuum, so you don't need to have separate devices to do the same thing. Now, this is, I'll preface this by saying this is a retail device at about $650, depending on where you're looking. Best Buy, Amazon, all of your usual locations are going to have it at about that price. So it's priced in the leagues with something like one of the more high-end devices out there, like Dyson vacuums and so on. And I personally did not have any experience with this in the past, with this brand. I had heard the name in passing, and I couldn't quite pinpoint it initially. And then I remembered that my brother and his wife had picked up I think a model or two down from this when they bought their first home, and they said that they had loved it. And I had just, shelved it in the back of my memory. And when Tineco offered, to send a unit out to check out for the holiday gift guide, I said, you know what? I've been using essentially a dustbuster, like for my apartment, one of the, like a cordless vacuum dustbuster that was decent enough for some uses, but then I was having to break out the traditional mop and bucket to mop the bathroom floor, the kitchen floor, and the fake tiled, it's not really hardwood, but it's like fake tiled hardwood in the apartment that I'm in for most of the other surfaces. I only really had a couple surfaces that were carpeted, basically area rugs. And I thought, you know what? Yeah, let's check this out. So they sent it over. I've had it for a few days now. I wanted to make sure I got at least a first impressions review out before the holiday gift guide, and probably have a little more coverage of it in that itself. If you're looking for something, a little more upper end than, just an entry level thing, this is not like something that you're likely going to get if it's your first, dorm room or something. You might want to go with a smaller thing like a dustbuster. But if you have something and you have an apartment that needs a little more, robust cleaning action, or a larger full-size house, obviously, and you're not wanting to go with something, cheap on the low-end scale, this has a lot of features packed into it, considering, the price point that they have. Now, what's included with it is the actual vacuum unit itself, 3 different rollers, the cleaning solution, which you can buy replacements of, 2 dry filters, a charging base, a cleaning tool, and some adapters. Now, it can mop and vacuum in one step, which is what made it really appealing to me when I checked it out. So what does that mean? It has sensors built in, so that when you run it over the surface on the ground, it can tell, what it needs to do. So if it's like spills or something on the ground that's dried up, it will sense it, and it will apply the cleaning solution to it to mop it. And then it can detect if there's debris, like if there's things that are like sticking off the ground, like dust or whatever you have on the ground, and it will then suck that up, and it can determine what best method to use on its own. And of course you can, go over it yourself. It's called their iLoop smart sensor, and it can detect if it's dirt, or if it can detect if it's a stain or something that needs to be worked with. So that was actually pretty cool, and it's funny, it came in right at a time when I was like, you know what, it's time for me to do some chores and clean up the place a bit. And it was able to go from the kitchen surface to the hallway to the living room. And then I was like, here's the test, put it over top of the shaggy carpet that I've got just for my feet in front of the viewing love seat that I have there. And then I did the hallway, I did the bathroom, I went and did my bedroom, and I was like, it did it all in one fell swoop. It's powerful enough, it has good suction, it was pretty easy to use, it's actually quite user intuitive. Now, it does have an app that you can use to access additional features, as well as tips on like cleaning resources, like things like giving you plans and stuff to, I guess, gamify and make your cleaning week more fun or less monotonous. But to be honest, the fact that it does everything that it does, and it's such a high-tech device, already does that for me. It has an LED screen that changes color to indicate when your floors are clean. It can detect when it's clean. It's like, you've gone over this area enough. It's clean now. Now it offers about 30 to 35 minutes of cleaning time on one charge. I did the whole place. Now I have a 2-bedroom apartment, but it's an older apartment, so it is a larger apartment compared to what like a new place would be. And to do all of my floor surfaces and have it clean, it only took me about 12 minutes. So even if I didn't charge it and put it right back in its charging area right away, I would still have gotten at least 1 to 2 more cleans. So you might only need to charge this thing once a month, which is pretty darn cool. Now it has a dual tank system. It separates clean water from the dirty water for the mopping sections, which is pretty cool. And it's, again, very easy to use, very sleek looking. You get what you pay for with it. So if you're looking for something that, maybe for Christmas you've got somebody in your family that's moving out for the first time, getting their first place, or you're looking for that one bigger ticket item, to give mom, dad, kids, grandma, somebody, and you can replace a few different devices. The fact that it's cordless, it can go anywhere. I don't have to worry about extension cords running all over the place. With an old apartment that I have on the bottom floor, where half of my apartment is underground, technically, the way it's built onto a hill, and the other half is at ground level. It's just a dust magnet where things will just come in under the doors, or things settle. So it's always become a mad dash to try to catch up with everything. And this makes it easy. It's one tool. You vacuum up really quickly, really easy to clean up. You do have to replace, if you're doing the mopping part of it, you'll have to replace the cleaning solutions. But it looks to me, depending on where I've been looking for replacements, it's about $30 for 2 bottles. Your mileage may vary on how much you get out of that, but it's the kind of thing where the mopping part of it you might only have to do, if you're careful, once a month, and depending on the surfaces that you use, or you might not use it much at all. But it does have the ability to cover basically every surface. The vacuuming power is good. It's got an easy to read digital screen, and the app is actually fairly well made. So if you're looking for a good quality vacuum cleaner that's really high tech and sort of up our alley, if you're somebody who likes to tinker with smart devices, it's pretty cool, and you might want to check it out. But keep in mind again that it is on more of the upper end of what we would normally recommend for something on our holiday gift guide.
The hell is that? First place I learned about death was the pet cemetery. The secret place. Generation to generation, dead things buried in that land would come back. There's something else.
Hey guys, Mike the Birdman here to talk about something unexpected I received from my friends over at Paramount Home Entertainment. I'm going to be talking about Pet Sematary Bloodlines on Blu-ray. This is a movie that I vaguely remember hearing about a while back. This is a prequel to the Pet Sematary novel and the movie, more like the 2019 version, I want to say, with John Lithgow. And this is the 1960s story of Judd Crandall. And it does tie into the story of a person whose son has come back from the Vietnam War, or a war, I think, in the novel. And they didn't obviously come back right when they went up to the Pet Cemetery. And as you can guess, hilarity ensues. Unexpected stars in this. I did not expect to see David Duchovny, did not expect to see Pam Grier. The movie itself has a lot of indigenous American actors, and that was really awesome. And I found out by going through the special features, they actually consulted with some Micmac people, which, again, made me feel really awesome. It's nice to see more indigenous representation in movies. And honestly, it's not a bad movie. It's not a great movie. I feel like it could have done a lot more with the source material, but I never would have thought of expanding Pet Sematary into franchise territory. But I also didn't expect like 1,000 Children of the Corn sequels either. What I got here, it's pretty watchable. Definitely something you can stream on Paramount Plus. Is it worth owning the Blu-ray? Well, that kind of depends. There's a lot more special features on here than I originally expected, and each of them run about 10 to 12 minutes. I think the longest is like maybe 15. So it's about 50 or so minutes of content. And there's a lot of meat on the bones there, which really kind of surprised me about a movie that, like I said, I heard very, very, very little about. And I think it premiered at Fantastic Fest earlier this year. But ultimately, it's not bad. And like the rumor is they're going to do another Pet Sematary movie sometime down the line. I mean, it's not going to be like the Eddie Furlong Pet Sematary 2, but hey, who knows? Maybe they'll bring back Clancy Brown. That would be kind of cool. But yeah, ultimately, Pet Sematary Bloodlines is worth watching. So what I'm going to recommend is maybe stream this movie first, see what you think about it. And if you really like it, pick up the disc because, like I said, the special features on here are what sold me on it. But this movie isn't necessarily for everybody, but it does kind of set up the world of Ludlow where Pet Sematary takes place. And as they say there, sometimes dead is better.
Believe me when I say, sometimes dead is better.
Do you have any hobbies?
I collect spores, molds, and fungus.
Hold that thought. It's crapper time.
Cartman, come on, that looks like
Come on what, Cal?
Look, I know we're making a lot of these, but we still have to make them look nice.
Does it really matter?
Yes, it matters. The streaming services are paying for nice boats. Ha, they don't give a Cal. Well, they're going to take everything they can get. Everyone knows at the end of the day, there's only going to be like 3 streaming services, so everyone just wants to have their on their stream and get bought out, and they don't give a how good anything is.
Hey guys, this is Mike the Birdman here to talk about something cool we got from our friends over at Paramount Home Entertainment. I'm going to be talking about South Park The Streaming Wars. This is the 2 episodes that aired on Paramount Plus, which, spoof the streaming wars, stuff you may see on Netflix and Disney Plus and Amazon and all the other 1,000 services that you pay for to deliver content to your home devices. And if you like South Park and enjoy that weird, strange, and bizarrely out there sense of humor, well, then you know exactly what you're going to expect. You see the return of Man Bear Pig. You see Mr. PP and PP Plus, and it gets pretty ridiculous, especially if you've been following the news cycle when it involves celebrities endorsing cryptocurrency. And I'll just say this. One of my favorite jokes in this is the Larry David bit, and also involving Matt Damon, and it's pretty frigging hysterical, I've got to say. There is obviously some crass humor, not exactly super politically correct, but if you like South Park, you know exactly what you're kind of getting into. And I actually had a lot of fun with this. I've actually been out of the South Park sphere of humor for quite some time. It's just not something that's on my radar. But now that, they're pretty much renewed South Park until the end of Infinity, it is what it is, so I really had a good time with this. So yeah, can I recommend South Park The Streaming Wars? Well, if you don't have Paramount Plus and if you're continuing to buy physical media, then yeah, you might as well check this out. It's really, really funny. Like I said, there's a couple of celebrity jokes in here I think you're really going to dig. So once again, check this out from our friends over at Paramount Home Entertainment. That is South Park The Streaming Wars. And this is on Blu-ray.
And everyone working at this streaming service is now working over at that streaming service. No one gives a about what goes on in it. Butters, I think you've had too many popsicles. Yeah, I think maybe I had one too many popsicles.
Tumble, Laserbeak, Ravage, prepare for battle. Operation Warfare. Eject.
Greetings, my fellow Decepticons. It is I, Mike the Birdman. I'm here to bring you something really cool we got from our friends over at Renegade Game Studios. I'm talking about one of their latest source books for the Transformers role-playing game. I'm talking about the Decepticon Directive. This is the Decepticon source book that will add, well, Decepticons to your campaign, or perhaps you want to play a evil campaign. Although, evil is maybe different than what you might think. If you are a big fan of the Transformers comic books, you should know that the Decepticons started as a political movement, basically fighting back against what was seen as oppression in Cybertronian society with, you know, the haves, the have-nots, and, well, there's a lot of real-world kind of parallels there, and Megatron started out as a gladiator in the pit trying to raise up his people to be seen as equals. Although with him using the phrase peace through tyranny, not exactly the leader you want to aspire to follow, but, you know, having people like Soundwave and Starscream and Shockwave and all the other Decepticon loyalists follow him in what led into a millions upon millions years civil war, well, you see how well that turned out. But the book, The Decepticon Directive, adds new layers, new depths, new roles, origins, influences, and perks, and it really kind of gives you a flavor as to what you could do. Like, it gives you the entire range if you wanted to play a clone of an Insecticon, or if you wanted to play an Insecticon like Bombshell, Chop Shop, Barrage, Venom, if you want to play one of the Rainmakers like Nova Storm, Ion Storm, Acid Storm. So you could pick an environmental focus with associated perks to make you invulnerable to a certain type of like element. You could literally call yourself Firestorm, Airstorm. I'm trying to think of other elements you could do with that, but yeah, it gives you ideas like that. Or perhaps you're a clone of, say, trying to think of a Decepticon here, maybe you're a clone of Brawl or something like that. You could even, it kind of gives you loose rules to play combiners, but not total rules for that. It's interesting though, and it does give you ideas to become what's known as a phase sixer. So if you want to be like Six Shot, you can do that too. I'm really surprised how much the Transformers game grows with each source book and the things that it can do with it. Like, I'm honestly super impressed with how much this game has grown under the Essence 20 system. And this is pretty much an essential book in that collection. I know one of the other books I'm going to probably recommend in the holiday gift guide is the Essence 20, where if you want to play Headmasters or Target Masters or something like that, by having all these different books and having all the different components, you literally are making a gestalt of a Transformers game that can literally be, well, anything you want it to be. So definitely living up to the Transformers moniker. Plus, you are getting a lot of named Autobots with stats here: Optimus Prime, Omega Supreme, Ratchet, Ironhide, Prowl, Perceptor, Cup. You even kind of get pseudo stats for Rodimus Prime. He's a threat level 8 character in the book, but when he gets the Matrix, he becomes level 10. Although technically Jetfire is more powerful than him, and so is Hound. Don't know if I agree with the power scaling there, but it is what it is. So, like I said, it's really kind of cool just to see how far the game has really grown during its lifetime, and I really, really like it. I mean, I think you could do a really interesting Decepticon campaign, kind of like with the Cobra book, the Cobra Codex that I reviewed earlier this year. If you were to do this right, you could set this during the rise of the Decepticons. You could do an alternate timeline. Maybe you were reformatted by Unicron or something like that to be one of his disciples. So if you always wanted to do that like evil D&D campaign, you're like an anti-paladin, maybe being a herald of Unicron, like in the most recent Rise of the Beast movie, like Scourge, Nightbird, and Battletrap. Maybe you're looking for something. Maybe you were corrupted. Maybe there's maybe even an idea for a game. Maybe even when Bombshell was turned into Cyclonus, is there a part of you that remembers being Bombshell? Something like that. Like I said, there's so much possibility here with the right creative game master who really knows the lore of Transformers. But even if you don't, you could just have a fun time doing something really kind of off the wall. Maybe Megatron wasn't the leader he was supposed to be, and maybe Shockwave took over. Maybe Ratbat was able to successfully usurp Decepticon leadership and really took over Cybertron. Or maybe Starscream gets what he always wanted and rules Cybertron. I know that happens in the IDW comics, though I haven't read too much beyond that, though. So yeah, ultimately, I think that the Decepticon Directive is a wonderful addition. If you've bought in all the other source books, then yeah, you're probably going to want to get this. You get a lot of really interesting ideas to how you can do different types of characters, new types of weaponry, new types of things that can, like, maybe an analyst like Mind Wipe or something like that, or an interrogator like Dead End or Knockout, I think it is. Yeah, there's a lot of awesome stuff in this book. You get a whole new adventure. It describes different strains of like Energon. It's literally the Vector Sigma of knowledge here. And much like the Cobra Codex was to G.I. Joe, this book is, I think, absolutely essential to make your game grow and do so many cool things. So without a doubt, it is time to say all hail Megatron and pick up the Transformers role-playing game, The Decepticon Directive, from our friends at Renegade Game Studios.
You're an idiot, Starscream. When we slip by their early warning systems in their own shuttle and destroy Autobot City, the Autobots will be vanquished forever! No! Such heroic nonsense.
Those magnificent bastards! Color me kooky, but something very odd is going on around here.
You're not allowed to talk anymore.
And that's going to do it for the show this week, or maybe year, depending on if we have more stuff come in. We might have one more review show. If anything, it would be really close to Christmas or just after that, as there's always a few things that couldn't quite make it in for the main shows or the holiday gift guide. Sometimes there's stuff stuck in the mail, or sometimes there's a bundle of things that just aren't released yet and come in after. So can't say 100% for sure, but as of now, I believe pretty much everything that we have for review is out. There might be a couple of items that we talk about during the holiday gift guide that will serve both as the holiday gift guide and mini micro reviews of those items in there. We're still compiling that over the next couple of days. We're going to have the order and everything sort of finalized as to what we're going to be talking about. But I am going to get out of here pretty darn quick because I have to get prepped for having some company over to watch the Game Awards while we take notes, and then end up recording the discussion on that, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show here. We'll be having a bunch of episodes of different things come out over the next few days, and then Birdman is pretty much going to be off. I'll be off. We're going to see, based on everybody's schedules, when we can gather to pre-record a few episodes of each of our shows so that we can have some movie discussions. Yeah, it'll be mostly movie discussions, maybe some TV stuff that we'll talk about during the break, as well as at least one more mini prototype, because we're going to be talking probably a mini / extended review somewhere in the 10, 15, 20 minute mark on the new Avatar game from Ubisoft, as that came in too late. It came in on release day, but too late for us to discuss it on our review guide or our gift guide, or any other show, as it's going to take a little bit to get through that game, and we have a few different people playing it, so we'll have differing opinions to talk about on there. Now, anything beyond that, I can't say for certain, other than we have plenty of episodes of Earth vs. Soup already pre-scheduled to come out all during the holidays, and the rest of the shows, we'll figure out the orders of them and have them out, in whatever makes sense. And then at some time, Bourbon and I are thinking of trying to put together a Christmas Day special that we'll put out either on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, and I'm probably going to be talking about a couple maybe forgotten, or maybe not necessarily forgotten, but maybe not as talked about television Christmas specials, and maybe just, we won't be doing like a watch along. It'll just be a discussion on some that we remember or some that we watch. We might find a couple, pick a couple, watch them, and then have a quick discussion on it. It won't be a very long episode, so don't worry if you're busy with family. You can just pop it on for a few minutes and just maybe chill out with us, because we do like doing the get-togethers and doing the watch-alongs and commentaries, but it's kind of hard to schedule that this year. And, if that was the case, we'd want to release it a few days beforehand, but we're thinking on releasing something on the actual holidays. I'm not going to be visiting too many people in my family. It's just going to be, I'm going to go over to visit my mom. I'm going to have some family come over there just for Christmas Eve morning. I'll stay over. Everybody else goes their separate ways to the other family members and extended family. And then it'll be mostly Christmas, just myself at home. But we're doing everything as adults do, scheduled around everybody else's schedule. So it's going to be a haphazard Christmas holiday, but we're going to have some fun regardless. Now, this is probably it for the TurdOrTreasure review show for the year. So as I wanted to make it a very, I guess, consistent show initially, and obviously as you've been listening, it hasn't been. It's been sort of an overflow show is what it's become. I'd like in the new year to hopefully make it a little more regular, to have it be something consistent. But in general, a lot of times what would happen is we would have one or two extra reviews, and it wouldn't be enough to fill up. And then, 3 or 4 weeks or maybe even 5 weeks would go by, and then we'd end up having like 7 or 8 things that we could go with, because a bunch of things came in all at once. And that's sort of what it became. I'll try to keep it so that we have at least one a month, as long as we have a consistent flow of review items to talk about. But if not, it might end up being like this again. But the plan is for next year to have custom artwork for this. We might have, we're going to keep the theme song, but we might end up having some other incidental music and stuff created for it. We're going to try to get different pod art for each of the shows, so that nothing has to share the main Twig pod art except for the main weekly show that we do with the news and everything. So that's just some insight. I'll figure out some of that stuff over the holidays, but it's going to be plenty of gaming, plenty of imbibing with family, and having just generally good time. So I guess without further ado, what am I saying? I'm just rambling. I got to finish this off because I got to get ready for the Game Awards. Hopefully you found something in this that interests you, either as a stocking stuffer or bigger ticket item. And if you want to hear more about them and more about everything else that we've sort of been curating for the holiday gift guide, come back and listen in a few days when that's out. We'll be talking about it on all of our social media platforms. We'll also have the prototype out probably shortly before that on the Game Awards, the results, what we would have liked to have won, and sort of where we see things going in the future, what we hope to see in the future. It's going to be the last prototype show of the year as a full-size show, and then, of course, a few little things later on. So thanks again for listening, and we'll be back with one of these probably in 2024.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Thanks for listening to this episode of This Week in Geek. Hungry for more? Check out our website at thisweekingeek.net. You can subscribe to the podcast, browse our Twitter and Instagram, and leave your thoughts on today's topics. If you'd like to give us some feedback, send us an email at feedback@thisweekingeek.net. Tune in next time, and remember,
lower your shields and surrender your listenership.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.